Good morning, everybody. My name's Aaron Petrov, and I'm the founder of Living Legacy. Today, I'll be hosting our first ever micro presentation. The topic of today's discussion is savings rate versus rate of return. In other words, what produces greater results? Saving a small percentage of your income, but earning a much higher rate of return than one would normally expect, or saving an appropriate amount of your income, but earning a more conservative and predictable rate of return. Today is all about useful and actionable intelligence and will be no longer than 15 minutes in length. It's intended to be information that you can implement in your life right now. Please input any questions you have into the chat box. I'll do my best to answer, but I will stick to the no more than 15 minutes rule. We previously sent you a worksheet that looks like this. Please have it handy, as I'll ask you to take notes as we go along. If the worksheet isn't available to you, just grab a blank piece of paper, and what I'd like you to do is draw a T-chart across the paper. Top left, I'd like you to label it scenario number 1, and on the top right, scenario number 2. I've done my best to minimize any distractions. I've got my background noise filtering software activated, but if you happen to hear my dog bark at the UPS driver, I apologize in advance. All right, the clock is ticking. Let's dive in. The first scenario that we'll examine is an outrageously high rate of return with a low savings rate. So under scenario number 1 on your worksheet, I'd like you to write down 25 years for the period of time that we'll examine. Next, I'd like you to write down $120,000 as the year 1 income. Further, we'll assume that each and every year you receive a 3% cost of living pay raise. Next, let's input the rate of return. I mentioned a moment ago that it'll be an outrageously high rate of return, so let's select 12%. The next inputs relate to the savings rate. And what I mean by savings rate is the percentage of your income that you save each and every year. It's the money that you save that'll be earning this 12% rate of return every year. So by definition, if you save 5% of your income, like a lot of Americans, then the other 95% is a lifestyle outflow. And for purposes of today, we'll lump all of the lifestyle expenses in together. Taxes, mortgages, car payments, insurance, entertainment, groceries, vacations, you name it, anything not saved is reflected here in the 95% outflow listed under lifestyle. In a second, I'll click the calculate button and there'll be a chart that populates on the right-hand side. I'd like you to initially focus on the green portion of the chart. Please write down $1,113,003 as the last input under scenario number 1. This is the amount of wealth that's created by saving 5% of your income and earning a 12% rate of return on that money each and every year. The red always captures people's attention. Think of the red as lost wealth. This is the money that comes in one pocket and goes out the other. The key point here is that when you lose $1, you don't just lose that dollar, but you lose the earnings potential on that dollar for the rest of your life. We refer to this as lost opportunity cost. And what's really interesting to me is that over the course of a typical life, there will be millions of dollars of lost opportunity cost. In fact, one way of thinking about today is that by increasing the savings rate, you're grabbing money from the red and pulling it up here to the green. So before we examine scenario number 2 with a higher savings rate, I just want to pause to see if anybody has any questions. All right, let's move on to scenario number 2. In scenario number 2, we'll use a much higher savings rate and a more conservative and predictable rate of return. What we're trying to determine is what's the difference in the amount of wealth created between these two scenarios. So the first 3 inputs will remain unchanged: 25-year study period, $120,000 of year 1 income, and a cost of living pay raise percentage of 3%. The first input that will adjust is the rate of return. Instead of the 12% rate of return, let's set that at 5%. So less than half the percentage that was used in the first example. Next, let's adjust the savings rate. Let's say that you're able to have a focused and disciplined cash flow management plan that allows you to save 20% of your income. So a drastically higher savings rate and a much lower rate of return. I'll click calculate in a second. Please take note of what happens to the green portion of the graph. The amount of wealth created in scenario number 2 is $1,628,647. This is a staggering 46% more. The key discovery from today is that the amount of money you save is far more impactful than the rate of return you earn on the savings. The reason this is such critical knowledge is because it's contrary to all the information that we're bombarded with by the financial entertainment industry. In fact, you have very little control over the rate of return you earn, especially for any period of time under 30 years. But you have absolute control over the percentage of your income that you save. The time-tested advice of plan for the worst and hope for the best still holds true. Plan and save as if you'll earn a lower rate of return on the money you save, but feel free to keep your fingers crossed for a higher rate of return, much like we've experienced the last couple of years. At Living Legacy, we help people solve complex problems with simple solutions. What we seek to accomplish with our clients is listed on the screen in front of you. If you'd like to learn more about our services, please send us an email and let us know. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you soon.